Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Tuesday, and it's nice to see all of you. Gonna let people trickle in for a little bit here. Tell me, it's been 2 weeks. How was your Valentine's Day? You know, we weren't on last week because we realized it was Valentine's Day and we were busy having Valentine, which was actually enchiladas. It was great. Hi, Brandon. Welcome, welcome, friends. That's what my water bottle sounds like when I leave it open, kind of a little bit. Do you guys like my new top? Isn't it cool? It's of course Bride of Chucky, which is my favorite out of all of the Child's Play franchise, because Tiffany Valentine is one of my favorite characters ever, and I love it. It's got this on the front, which of course it's got, Jennifer Tilly in all her glory. It's got Tiff up here and Chuck's all the way down there. And then on the back, we've got Tiff and Chuck. I'll probably have to turn around differently later on to show you guys, but this is from Pentagram Peter Pan, and I absolutely had to have it. It's got like this retro feel to it, which is super dope. He who turgles. Welcome. Glad to have your turgles here. Mud, sup. Greg, hello. Glad you guys like it. Very Tiffany, very swag. Yes, I went for it because I felt like it was the perfect combination of today's topic that I hope all of you will join me in talking about, which is horror and true crime, which, of course, Tiffany was in love with a serial killer who later on became a horror icon. So it was perfect. Welcome, welcome, Jennifer Tilly. Love her. Love her. Right on time or early. That's good. Yeah. Yeah, I try. I really try. I sit here waiting patiently until it turns 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But true crime and horror, I feel like they have a pretty deep connection. You've got horror movies, which are about murder and other things, and there's some mystery mixed in, and probably a detective trying to find out who the killer is. And true crime is basically the same thing, but in the real world, and nobody is supernatural that we know of. They're they like to think they are, but they're not always. And I'm curious, are you guys horror fans and true crime fans? If you're tuning in because you saw true crime, are you a true crime fan here? Or are you just a horror fan and you're not totally into the whole true crime thing? Me, I'm going to be honest, I am not really big into true crime. I will watch pretty much any horror movie ever. Love horror, obvi. But when it comes to true crime, I'm just not into it. I know that there's a lot of memes about girls sitting around and they're shoving their face full of popcorn and it's like, and he slit her throat and all that stuff. And I know so many people who really aren't into horror movies, some who even hate horror movies, but they love true crime, which is super interesting because that's real stuff. Horror is fake. It's fake killers, it's fake blood, it's fake death. But true crime is true. And that stuff freaks me the fudge out. Now, I will say I have listened to only one true crime source, and I've watched some of the true crime documentaries, and like some of the movies slash shows or whatever. And I mean, they were interesting, but I don't go seeking them out. I would much rather go, spend hours on a horror movie than true crime. But that's not to say that true crime isn't interesting because it is a very interesting look into the human psyche and what humans really are capable of, you know? And it's interesting to see the patterns of kind of how killers came to be. I've always kind of wondered, are they born or are they made, or are they born and then they're kind of pushed and made? It's kind of like the theme in Halloween Ends of basically Michael seems like he could have been made, to be honest. But Corey seems like he had some kind of weird tendency, but he was pushed. He was made. And not saying there's any excuse for anything, but sometimes something just goes a little too far and you're broken and you can't get back. Oh, I'm missing some comments. Hi, Jim. Welcome. Brandon said, I'm a horror fan at heart, but I have dabbled into some true crime. What kind of true crime? Mud said, other than the Zodiac Killer, that one was intriguing. That was super intriguing. Excuse me, I get a little itch. Super intriguing. Very weird. Certain types of horror movies. Brandon said, did take criminology class as an elective. Ooh, very interesting. I'm curious to see what those classes are like. They've got to be like fascinating. I don't think I'd get bored in those. If you did, comment. Leave a comment. Let me know. And why. And what you do in your spare time to find thrills and chills. Jim said, true crime hits me harder than horror films. Amanda, that's his wife for context, really gets into true crime, but not me so much. I find it interesting, but it affects me too much. Jim, is Amanda, based on everything that I know of you guys, she supports your love of horror, and I assume she'll watch them with you, but she really isn't into horror. So I'm assuming you're the horror head and she's the true crime junkie, or whatever you call them. He who turgles, hurt people, right? Well, yeah, but also people who are afraid of consequences don't hurt people, or people who are in therapy don't hurt people. I mean, it does happen. People who are hurt other people. So I guess it's more of a reason than it is an excuse. Hello, dead recliner. Nice to see you. Welcome. We're talking true crime and horror. Now, one aspect of true crime and horror that I find particularly interesting is horror fans' fascination. Actually, you know what? Before I go into that, I find it really weird that most of the people that we would consider normies, us, they love true crime so much. They love the real stuff. Why? I'm sure there's a ton of studies out there. There's got to be videos, but why? What's it all about? I mean, I've listened to the stories. My favorite YouTuber is known mostly for true crime, but she has another segment that's my fave, and that's Bailey Sarian. So I watch her Murder Mystery and Makeup Mondays, where she puts on really dope makeup looks and goes over some true crime stories. I don't really pay as much attention as her segment that I really enjoy on Thursdays, which is Dark History, about basically the wild, wacky, dark, and different history that we're not really taught about in school. But I mean, I like watching it mostly because I like Bailey. So I've learned a lot through her that way. But it's very weird to me that just like the random people on the street, it's like their quirk to like true crime documentaries, like just normal people. But if you ask them to watch a horror movie or like, I like horror movies, they're like, oh my, oh goodness, gosh, could never. It's really weird to me. I don't understand because I know a lot of horror fans who are like, "Oh my god, look at how that head was chopped off." But we're also like, "Did you hear what Ted Bundy used to do? Horrifying. Can't possibly cope with it." But then there's a little bit of both for quite a few people who are major horror fans, but also true crime fans. But this is one aspect that I'm just not okay with, and that is the selling of true crime merch. Like, I got a cup once from a horror box that had Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, on it. I was like, throw that trash out because I'm not going to use it. There were real people affected by him, real people killed. And every time I go to a convention, somebody's got some Mickey Mouse ears on some kind of magnet with, John Wayne Gacy's face on it. And I'm just like, what is that? Or just serial killer tattoos all over, or serial killer dresses glorifying serial killers. Is it the fact that they're outcasts and they identify with them? Because these are real horrible people. And most of these people are the people who say, hey, when I was in school, I was bullied. But then again, the people who are bullied are usually the ones that turn into killers. But I'm not saying us who were, bullied or outcasts are all killers or anything like that, but it's just a weird dynamic. I don't know why you would celebrate killers like that. But that brings me to another point that I want to talk about with you guys, but let's stop for a comment break. Brandon said, my favorite slasher is Norman Bates, and it's known he was loosely based on a real serial killer, Ed Gein. Oh yeah, I heard about Ed Gein. I did. I looked up these people randomly just to find out like what they were all about. And I did enjoy Mindhunter. I don't know if you guys have watched Mindhunter, but apparently they're not going to do a third season because it's too expensive to be historically accurate and all that. But that's a freaking awesome show. And they did a really good job on the casting. I looked up the real people with the killers and they did a really good job. Deloth said, I like AC/DC song about him was really good. Oh, the Night Stalker? You mean the song that he got inspired from by AC/DC, which AC/DC has no connection to him whatsoever. Listen, AC/DC, huge fan here. And that is just super wild. But yeah, it was not something that he inspired them to make. He was after the fact. Mud Nelson says, people that think it's quirky to sexualize real serial killers are funky. There are. There's like Deborah down the street who's just like, oh, I think Ted Bundy is so cute. Like, you would have been one of his victims, Deborah. Survival of the fittest, right? He Who Turgle said, I'm selling Goofy dolls, but he's dressed like Ed Kemper. That'll be $45. Exactly. And people are like, yeah, I want to put that in my house. I want to tell people about it. I want to love on it. That thing that looks like that person who killed a bunch of people in real life. Very strange. Hey, Danny, welcome. He Who Turgles, damn it, David Fincher, fund it yourself. For real, David Fincher. Gosh. Oh. Jim Martin said, that's what I can't get behind too. Real families are hurt by these people, and to see killers being turned into merchandise is just shocking to me. Yeah. R.I.P. Deborah. Bye, Deborah. Bye. Deborah. Deborah. Yeah. Amber said, I like true crime, but I'm not a fan of serial killers. I don't want memorabilia. I would never wear something with their face on it or anything. Yeah. I mean, it's totally okay to like true crime. Like, true crime is very interesting. It's just understanding the psychology of these people and just what they were able to do is very fascinating. And I will get behind that, but the glorification of the serial killers is strange. You'll have a bunch of Gen Zers, or even us older folk, who are talking about how sexy Ted Bundy is, and that's just really strange. Listen, I love my tortured, handsome souls, but I just don't understand. It's different when it's a normal person. So, Jim said, my favorite serial killer may just be one of the oddest things I hear. Oh, really? You know what? I'm sure people do. I'm sure people talk about that all the time. Hey, Ty, welcome, girl. I haven't watched the Netflix show for this reason. It's just so wrong. Yeah, I started it just because I wanted to learn. I heard there was more of the victim focus, but it was too much for me. But said, hell yeah, dead bruh, yeah. Do you think it's weird fans love OG Freddy Krueger but find the remake version problematic? I do. Not think that it's that weird. What do you mean by that particular question? Could you be a little bit more specific? Because there's a lot of different facets to that. You, Turgle, said there's that awful pod, My Favorite Murder, which pause. My God, they are so popular. Everyone's like, My Favorite Murder is my favorite, or there's just all these different ones, which it's okay, but it's very strange to me. And I know some of it might seem that I'm mocking, but I am picking on people who love serial killers, like actually love them in that facet. I find it very odd. And so if you're out there watching and you really like serial killers, please leave a comment because I want to know what your justification and thought process is behind that. Because I don't get it. And I don't think that it makes sense to me. Like, why true crime but not horror? I mean, what is the fascination with Ted Bundy in real life? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So please comment. Leave your comments. I want to hear them. But that brings me up to another point for you horror fans, and get ready for it. Comment break. My favorite murder is Rose from the Titanic. Murders Rose from the Titanic. Heck yeah, bud. I'm telling you, she let him go. Actually, rumor on the street is she whispered into his ear, hey, I'm 27. And he was like, bye. Because it's Leo and he doesn't date anybody older than 13. Brandon said that makes the makers put more emphasis on the pedophilia aspect in the remake, Freddy, whereas the original was hinted at. Yeah, it's if people are really upset that they made him a pedophile in the remake, they don't know as much about the origin of Freddy or the history behind what became of Freddy and Wes's original intent for Freddy, which is what was pretty much put in the remake. So those people are ill-informed, I think, and they can try to defend it all they want, but it's hinted at heavily through the rest of the series. It's not stated, but that doesn't make a difference. They're smarter than that, or they should be. Thanks, Paige. So my question for you guys is, what's very, very interesting about us is we are horror fans. Why the heck do we like killers? Now, there have been documentaries, and wink, wink, Fred Heads the documentary, which talks a lot about why we end up liking these movies and what they really mean to us and what we get out of it. But if you think about it, I mean, there's people I've read online that are trying to cancel Freddy Krueger because he's a pedophile and a child murderer. And it's like, here we are here I am with a fake child murderer on my wall. What does that say about me? What is the difference between glorifying Freddy and glorifying Ed Gein? Is it just the matter that they're real and fake? But are there other implications? Shouldn't we both be like, nah, man, murder's wrong? Whether it's in a movie or whether it's in real life, we should not glorify murderers. Or does it make it okay for us simply because they're fake and they just represent us overcoming a fear and kind of having that safety zone, where if you were actually somewhere being chased by a killer, it would not be fun, but you're watching it from the safety of your home and it's okay. So maybe it is just our power move over our fears, and that's it. But the deeper morality is, are we kind of messed up too? That's what I'm wondering. Weigh in the comments, guys. Amber said Fred Head's Doc should be here Saturday. Heck yeah, Amber. I really hope you enjoy it. Please let us know. We definitely want to know. And anybody else who has Fred Heads the documentary, please leave us a review on Letterboxd, on Amazon. It helps us greatly. Jim said, which you can't escape continued prior content. You Turgles said, because slashers are cool and not real, costumes, signature weapon, fun gimmicks, weird powers, tragic backstory. They're like tragic WWE characters, but they read people's faces off. Yeah, but okay, they're cool and not real. Is it just because they're not real that they're cool? They have a costume, a signature weapon, but doesn't John Wayne Gacy have a costume that is pretty well known? Or if somebody went dressed as Jeffrey Dahmer, you'd know who he is, Something like that. Brandon said, I'm ordering the Fred Heads doc and Kinder Trauma this weekend. Thank you. Kinder Trauma, we're hoping to release later this year, but you can back it on Kickstarter. Paige said, I watch horror for the heroes. The second you start feeling empathy for the villain, I'm out. Like in Freddy's Dead, it justifies his killing. It's a fun popcorn flick, but it's like you end up rooting for him. Basically. I don't think I've ever rooted for a killer in a horror movie to be like, kill them, kill them. Even my man Fred. I'm like, no, please spare Sheila. She has such dreams. She was going to be a doctor. Mud said, horror movies just slap. Yeah, they do. Brandon said, interesting question. Yeah, it is. I try to keep it interesting on here. I wish I could just add you guys in. I'm sure there's some way that I could add you in visually. Don't feel bad for the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, any of those hippies trespassing, home invading. I mean, home invading, realistically, you really shouldn't have been there. Jim said the villain gets your attention. It's the other characters that keep it. That is a great, great way to put it. It really is. But I noticed there are 16 people in here, but we're getting the same kind of round robin of our signature people that we love to have on. But I really want to hear from the rest of you guys what your thoughts are on true crime and horror movies and the glorification of serial killers. And the whole trend of more serial killer documentaries. I mean, somebody made a video once about my girl Bailey Sarian profiting off of, true crime. And I know she's taken breaks over the time that she's been doing YouTube videos because it's just too hard to keep talking about all this dark stuff, which is why she usually puts on makeup because it's something to kind of keep her brain preoccupied. But people are interested in it. And I guess you could say that she profits off of pain, because that's where people are interested. But I don't believe that Bailey is bad at all. And that's why she's really pushing her dark history, I think, because that's probably where she wants to go more toward. But the murder mystery makeup is her signature, and people are so into true crime. And it's like a universal thing that a lot of people are really, really into is true crime. And so you get a lot more people's attention. And when you get more attention, you get more subscribers, and you get more subscribers, you can quit your job and become a full-time YouTuber. I feel like I'm missing comments. Oh, once upon a time in Hollywood, they have hippies get roasted with issues. I think slashers take a lot of skill craft to make a memorable one, said he who turkles. We're fascinated with them because they're well crafted. People are fascinated with serial killers because of morbid fascinations. I think every single one of the horror killers has something in common with regular serial killers is that they have an origin story. I think all killers in general have some kind of origin story. I think that's why Disney started to do the villain movies, not because they wanted to be like, all right, here's Maleficent, and she's just evil. But that would have been so much cooler. But no, they have to have all these different levels and layers, like an onion, like Shrek. They've been Shrekified. They've got all these different layers. And because it is true. Nobody's really born evil that we know of. I mean, there are some people who, when they're younger, just exhibit certain signs and you're like, "Oh, that person is just messed up." And there are people who are psychopaths and things like that, and they just have really no remorse or I guess moral compass per se. They know what they're doing is wrong. They just don't care. So I guess there are some people who are born, but then there are some people who are pushed slash made, which is sad. Um, Brandon said, "Have you turned off a horror film that hit too close to home for you?" For me, there are a lot of the found footage demon films that hit a little too close for home for me, but I still managed to push myself through them because it's the only movies that scare me, but they scare me for a reason. Oh, look, the camera captain. Welcome. True crime touches on our fears. Horror characters are the sum of those fears. It's easier to face them than when they have one. Yeah, it's true. I could definitely see that. Um, yeah, true crime definitely covers the things that we're afraid of. And I guess maybe it's a survival instinct to say, hey, I'm watching this and it's fascinating because I want to know what the heck I should stay away from, or like what's possible in this world that I'm not exposed to in my little bubble, you know? And I wonder if there's some psychology behind why some people go more toward um, true crime. Like, what is it about true crime that really pushes people? Are they trying to learn something about themselves? Are they I have to look into it because I'm very, very curious. Planet CHH, what's up? What's up, Deandra? Guilty of watching a ton of true crime stuff a lot. I guess the levity of it being real is a factor that gets a ton of people's attention. Maybe. But why does it get their attention so much? Why are so many people into true crime, but not horror? Is it what is the aspect of reality that they're so fascinated with? Because I think we can all talk about, why horror. I think we've explored it, documentaries have explored it, but why true crime? There could be videos and documentaries out there about why true crime. I'm gonna have to look them up and find out. But why true crime? Why are so many people into true crime? And what's the history of that? Bailey Sarian, this one is for you. Dark history. History of true crime fascination. I want to know. Make it come full circle, girl. Make it meta. Make it meta. Do a video. ping her, please. Thank you. Paige, which is the final girl, but said, I like Addison Ray. She gets the family's permission and starts a foundation to help them and uses her profits for it. I am not familiar with Addison Ray, but I do know the name. I just don't really know what she's done, but it is really good that she gets their permission and then uses her profit to help the families. That is really, really nice. I'm very, very happy that she is putting it toward a good cause. And it's like, channeling all of this popularity into, helping the people who are often shoved behind the scenes, the people who are really affected, who will never get over the fact that their grandmother was slaughtered just terribly on like the bedroom floor. What a horrible thought to be able to think about somebody that you love and finding out that they were just torn to shreds, or you don't even know that they're dead and you come home and you find it. You got to think about those moments. It's like we were watching Top Gun Maverick, love it. And in it, Tom Cruise is talking about, he's asking people, why did you do this? Why did you make this decision? And they're like, well, blah, blah. And he goes, give me a reason that their family will accept at the funeral. And that is such a great way to get people thinking differently. And then they realize, it's not good enough. So then you really start thinking about, this obsession with true crime and serial killers. And, we think about them and we talk about them more than we really know the names of their victims, really know the stories of their victims, really know how their families were impacted. And with most of these things, families don't even want them made because they don't want it resurfaced again, surrounding them with the name and the face and the articles and the history of the person who murdered somebody that they love. Because if you're sitting there talking about how much you love Jeffrey Dahmer, could you say that in front of the families of the victims? Meanwhile, we spit right in Robert Englund's face. And we're like, I love Freddy Krueger. I love him. He came in my dreams when I was 5. We do that. Brandon said, hey, Christian. Oh my God, I missed so many comments. Hold on. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Turgle, Shrekified is not a word. You made that up. Listen, everything's made up. I did make Shrekified a word, okay? It's a word now. I spoke it into existence. I manifested it. Addison Rae is a TikToker who dances. She dances while telling true crime? Everybody's making combos these days. Brandon said, Captain Sassy Media, sorry, I asked this already, but do you read true crime fiction? If so, do you have a favorite book or author? I don't read true crime fiction. If I do anything, it's watch a documentary to learn about it, or I just watch Bailey Sarian videos, or Mindhunter. Those are my 3 sources of true crime truth. Turgle said the Addison Rae thing brings up a good question. Is there any ethical way to do true crime? Even if you get permission, it's still fairly leery and can lead to unhealthy obsessions. Yes, exactly. Is there a healthy way to talk about these? Now, there's education, there's classroom, criminology studies, psychology studies, where you can get lost in the psychology of these killers, why they came to be, why they did what they did, things like that. But, what beyond that, is there any ethics in entertainment? Because we know that documentaries aren't just around for the sake of educating people and starting a foundation or doing anything like that. They're wanted to make money and profit off of somebody else's pain, which in many ways is the entertainment industry in a nutshell. Mud said, I think some people just don't respect horror as a genre. They don't. And I think it's because it's had a bad reputation over the years of being, sleazy and low budget with terrible actors. And I can't say that that's all untrue. We love those sleazy movies, but there have been quite a few of them only in the last 10 years or so. I mean, horror, I heard it described as horror, what used to get people started in their career. And now horror is something that people who have an already established career are starting to do. I just read an article today that JoJo Siwa is going to be in a horror movie. JoJo Siwa. That is a big kids icon, and she's going to be in a horror movie now. The genre has changed, and it's time for the Academy to give horror its due and start including it. Best horror movie of the year. I'm telling you, there are worthy horror movies who have better storytelling, better direction, better action, better special effects than most of the other crap they put out there. Like, people watch certain movies and you just go, oh, that's going to be an Oscars contender because it's got Leo DiCaprio and a fake beard and the whole color scheme is gray and it's sad and 3 hours long. Perfect. Print that, Gretchen, and send it off to the Oscars. Bailey, by the way, did a video on nominations and basically, how Hollywood is corrupt and all those little things. It's just you pay people off to get them the Oscar. Amen, friends. We surprised? We're not surprised. Cinecrypt, oh, welcome. Oh, crap. I got so far down. Said, I would say it lets us explore that dark aspect of our personality vicariously through the exploration of true crime. So why do you think then, why is that the dark personality aspect is true crime? How does that relate versus, horror characters? I feel like we can explore more of the dark personality aspects of ourselves through horror characters because they're fake. But how do we explore the darkness in ourselves? Are we just curious by what we can do? By witnessing what these other real people have done? Then we're like, oh, I could do that too. Thinking about it. Deborah's down the street, like, I love Ted Bundy. And I'm going to make this pot roast and go to my parent-teacher conference. But you know what? Underneath it all, Deborah wouldn't mind murdering her husband to be free. Ooh. A thought. Amanda. Oh, hey, Amanda. Welcome. We were talking about you. I don't know if Jim brought you on or if you just decided to join. I don't know what happened. It comes down to the psychology of it all. The nature versus nurture. True crime hits different. Talk a little bit more about that, Amanda, because you are more of a true crime person than a horror person. The nature versus nurture. It's just the fascination with learning about how somebody became this real evil threat, right? That's what's interesting about it. So what do you think about people who glorify serial killers, who want a mug with Jeffrey Dahmer on it? What do you think about that? Paige said Kendall Ray is the true crime. Well, I said the wrong name. Oh, Kendall Ray. But I've heard of an Addison Ray. You dig her. You know what? I'll check her out. If she dances, I'll do it. Brandon said, horror deserves recognition too. Amen, amen. I think we are a safe, sanitized society. True crime who's not at all. Yep. Trash Stash. Hey. Hello, Captain Sassy. Born to be Rad Garrett. What's up, buddy? I was laughing because every time somebody pops in, I'm like, what's up, dude? And it just reminds me of whenever I watch you and you're like, what's up, guys? And I just feel like I've been Garretified. I've been ratified. Popping in to say what's up. Nice to see you. Paige said, I think we as humans are curious by nature. That's why we watch train crashes, car wrecks, or any other event in front of us. It's the curiosity. Oh, speaking of, you guys, have you ever seen something horrific in real life? Because over the last 2 months, I have seen 2 vehicles just bonfiring on the highway. One was an RV. The other one was a semi-truck. And it was the first time in my life I've ever actually seen things blazing on fire in the middle of the highway. And it was horrifying. Horrifying. You react differently when you're fascinated. You're like, holy crap. But like, why? Why are we that way? We don't want to be a part of it. But you're like, whoa, that's terrifying and awful. We're so weird. Cinecrypt said, sorry, I'm in the middle of a psychology course, and that's just my take on it. Ooh, I love psychology courses. Give me more. I actually think it would be an interesting topic for me to bring up next week in class. Please do. I want to hear what people are saying. Bring it up in class, especially psychology. You know, everybody in there has thought about it, and I want to know how many people in that class would be like, I like true crime. How many of you like true crime? And then see how many people raise their hands. How many of you like horror movies? See how many people raise their hands. You could really get the ball rolling with that one. Trash Stash said, I love true crime, but more the mafia true crime stuff. Ooh, that is a subgenre of true crime I'm not entirely familiar with, but I'm very fascinated by because I feel like that's the one that kind of floats underneath. You know, you really don't know anything about it or how horrible it is, but you're like, dang, now that's train wreck stuff. Garrett said, to me, horror is fiction, and that's what sets it apart from true crime, in my opinion. Yeah, I think that's the general consensus. He Who Turgle said, everybody click off the stream. Deandra's got a highway curse. You wouldn't believe also how many trucks I've seen carrying logs in the last 2 months. I'm scared. If I'm driving and I see it and Highway to Hell comes on, which is quite possible given my love of AC/DC and my playlists, I think I might just cry. I will pull over immediately. I'll be like, sorry, excuse me, got to get over. Don't want to be here right now. Garrett said, hello, I love it. Sassy Rad. Sassy Rad. Mud said, I have seen someone die in front of me. Holy crap. What was that? What did you watch? I need to know. Danny said, I saw a bus on fire back when I was in high school coming back from a field trip. I still have the video on my phone. You have a video on your phone. Oh my God. Brandon said, I've seen 2 cars colliding in front of me as a kid, and I nearly had a few run-ins with death growing up. 2 near drownings. Oh my God. The Trash Stash said, my stash. And every time it's like a tongue twister. The TS said, my favorite true crime show was Unsolved Mysteries. That show is more terrifying than most horror movies. It slaps. You know why? Because they never solved it. With some of these true crimes, you're like, yeah, that serial killer, I know. We figured it was him. But some of these things are such a huge mystery. Or like Snapped, when the woman like just snaps. I like that one because I like to see it's usually the guys who are the killers. Finally, it's like, what drove Barbara over the edge? I need to know. Jim said, I was almost run off the road and down a mountain by a logger truck. Fun times. Amanda and the boys slept through the whole thing. God bless America. I'm sure you think about that in your worst times. Mud said they got shot. Holy crap. Oh my gosh. Paige said, I was standing on my back porch as a kid while 2 gang members went at it and one shot the other. Oh, heartbreaking. Amber said, I used to watch Snapped every Sunday. Prophecy Girl said, hi, Amber. Everybody loves Amber. Funny story, side note. Amber and I used to like pop on Monday nights on this DJ's show, and we would just, oh, Amber, oh my God. Let's see, where was I? I was in, Cincinnati last month, and somebody walked by me with a neon cactus mug, and I was like, holy crap. That's a flashback. Born to be Rad said, hey, Paige. Everybody loves Paige. Everybody say, hey, Paige. Say, hey, Paige. I went through a windshield once, too, and that was pretty sick or whatever. Or whatever. Mud, dude. I hope you wear your seatbelt now. Or if you wore your seatbelt, then, oh my gosh. I hope, I mean, you're okay. Obviously, you're here, but I like hope you're just eternally okay. Like in many ways. Brandon said, have you watched A Haunting on the Travel Channel? Way better than Ghost Hunt Adventures. I'm also nervous to watch those because they're real. I will watch fake ghost crap forever. But you put real ghost crap in front of me? Mm-mm. Somebody was like, oh, you like horror movies. I bet you'd love to stay in that haunted house. And I'm like, heck no. I have seen horror movies. You will not catch me in that real haunted house. Ever. No. In fact, when I go somewhere and they're like, this place is haunted, I'm like, we should go somewhere else. Flashback and a half, I'm telling you. He Who Turgle said, Mud Dog, what Jean-Claude Van Damme movie are you living in? Cinecrypt said last week at Papa Roach Falling in Reverse show, oh, jealous. A guy fell down the stairs, ending up with a huge gash in his head and bone sticking out of his leg. Some morbid crap. I feel like you'd see something like that, somebody fall off a stairs and at a show like that, they'd get back up and be like, mosh pit. You know? Wow. Woo. Amber said, same DeAndre, same. Yeah. But yeah, that's basically my general thought on, true crime and horror is that it's weird to me that, I mean, you could like true crime, being an absolute fan of true crime is interesting, but being a serial killer, like, glorifier is the strangest thing. The strangest thing, and I just don't see how that's okay. Cannot. I'd be so weirded out by it. Like, honestly, it's just not cool to glorify somebody who hurt somebody else, you know? And I know for us horror fans, we think it's cool because we know that they're fake. But, like, honestly, you could, like, me admiring Nancy Thompson because she's a strong character and she kicks butt and she has all this, like, yeah, that's totally makes sense. But Freddy is like a child predator, you know? It's different in that case. I think about it sometimes, you know? It's like people have been like, "You like Freddy Krueger? You glorify this child killer?" And we can be like, "Oh, it's fake," you know? But underneath, they're kind of like, does that excuse glorifying that kind of character? In the same way of glorifying a serial killer. So, yeah, I mean, we could hide behind the fact that they're fake, but it's still strange. And at least for Jason Voorhees, I mean, the poor guy was drowned. He really didn't do anything wrong before that. Really didn't. Michael Myers, he just evil, I guess. Chucky is bad guy. But Freddy's a bad guy too. He's the worst kind of guy, actually, to take advantage of the innocent. Makes you the worst. But here we are. Here we are. Sorry to get really, really into that, but, like, that's what this is about. It's basically talking to you guys about these thoughts that I have around the general whole world of horror that we live in, that we thrive in every day, thinking, because I love deep talks. And I know we have to do the classic every day, "Hi, how you going? Have you seen the weather outside?" Whoa, a little small talk, but I think a lot of people, I don't know if anybody just wants to thrive in the small talk. I think everybody wants to talk about something a little deeper. And I really appreciate when you guys come on and talk to me about this. I wish that we could all be around a table, like inside like the actors table or whatever it is, and we just talk about the subject in person. I feel like I've got to look into more ways to just kind of bring people on in spurts to hear people actually talk and feature you guys, because that would be wonderful. Oh, Corey's here. I missed some stuff. Amber said, yeah, I can get behind that. Prophecy Girl said, I like true crime, but don't understand the people that idolize serial killers. Yeah, I don't get it. Turgles said, I once got my arm stuck inside a closing elevator door. It had the green saw lighting and everything. I made it out. Well, thank gosh. Corey, welcome. Hey, friend, sorry I'm late. Treatment having wiped. Yes, please send your thoughts to Corey. He's getting treatment for something, and he could just use extra love and prayers. He's a good dude. Cinecrypt said, how do you feel about fictional representation of real life killers like American Horror Story Hotel and the H.H. Holmes aspect? I don't know. I don't know. It's the entertainment. It's not actually them, but it's about them. And that's feels like anything based on a real serial killer, even if it's a fictional representation, whether it's true to the story or, stretched, should not be okay. As much as I want to be like, oh, it's kind of fake, I still feel like it kind of should maybe be okay. Trash Stash said, I like some of the true crime horror movies, but I don't ever glorify the people. Like the movie Monster, for example. I love the movie, feel bad for her, but don't glorify her. Amanda said, my interest is not only the psychology of it all, but have you ever seen the brain firing from a serial killer? It's vastly different. I don't understand how someone can glorify a serial killer. Yeah, vastly different. Actually, no. But if you have something that I could look into, I would be very interested in how their brain works differently. Fascinating. Brandon said, I love Jeepers Creepers. Oh crap, wait, I lost it a little bit. Even though it's directed by a real convicted pedophile, does that make the fans of the film bad people? I can't really, I don't think it makes people bad people for liking a movie. It's unfortunate that it was made, but I think constantly putting out more of the Jeepers Creepers films and, you know, getting him any sort of money from it is very tricky. And I just in Kinder Trauma, I want to talk about how much Jeepers Creepers terrified me, but I really don't feel like I'm going to get into that because I don't want to talk about it because of that. It's really, I just don't believe that you can separate the art from the artist. Not really. J.K. Rowling out there. I just really can't get behind Harry Potter stuff that makes her money. And like I know I like getting butterbeer at Universal, but I just there are other things that I think would be cool. To get a wand would just be cool, but I don't know. I just kind of draw the line there somewhat. It's hard. Jim said, I think the difference is the characters are symbols. They represent things that we are meant to overcome. True killers are just that killers, real people who took a hard left turn. Thank you, Paige. She said it's such a good convo. Mud said I avoid small talk at all times. Oh, poo, I lost it again. Hold on. Let me get up. Turgle said toss up the prayers for Corey. All my love to Corey. Praying for Corey. Thank you guys so much for giving love to Corey. Amber said, is it weird to sit and think about? It is weird to sit and think about, sorry. I love horror and I have a ton of shirts with Freddy's face on them, but I think it comes down to that Freddy isn't real and he doesn't hurt anyone in real life. Yeah. It's like it's just this, I think, underneath, because he isn't real, because we can control him, because he lives in a box. He's just a representation of our fear. They are the symbolic representation of our fears, and we can control them. And I think that's been said multiple times, and that's probably why it's different. We definitely don't glorify, you know, a pedophile, but we enjoy seeing him get his butt kicked. And even though we like his one-liners, we know underneath that, you know, Freddy's not a good person. You're welcome, Corey. Plenty of rest for the next 48 hours. Good. I have a hard time separating the art from the artist. Yeah, Paige, I just can't. Like, it's hard. I can't do it. Cinecrep says, here's an interesting link. Oh, okay. Where's the link? Give me the link. I want a link. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we are about 12 minutes away from the hour, and I think I've pretty much said all I want to say. Angela totally does, though. It's like something that comes up in every movie. Freddy has no physical form, so he can't touch or harm you, only haunt nightmares. Yeah, but he could still hurt you in the nightmares. And if you pull him out, that's physical form, right? They bring him into reality. This physical form. But it's not like a new nightmare thing where we pull him out of the movies, or he's a demon who comes up and he's like, hey, I'm Freddy Krueger now. And we're like, oh, you know, but he's not real. But there are people like him who are. Yeah. If Freddy was real, I would hope that even though we're Fred heads, we would be like, absolutely not. It would just change everything. Yeah. Jim said, this has been a great convo. Thank you. You're welcome. Cinecryptus says brain scans of serial killers. Yes, please send me the brain scans of serial killers. Drinkle said, hey, remember when those 3 demons flew into his chest and made him giga power? Great scene. Oh, horror movies. They just find interesting ways to make things worthy of a story. I don't know. It's super weird. But thank you guys so much for another tantalizing conversation on a Tuesday. I appreciate your thoughts. I already have what I want to do next week in my brain, which it will be the it will be the last, well, no, it won't be the last, but I will be taking another break after that for just a week because I have a work trip. So I will have next week off the following week. And then we'll be back on it. It'll probably be a Scream sandwich, to be honest, because I'm looking forward to Scream 6. I want to talk about it with you guys next week here on my spooky studio. Trash Stash said there was a guy I saw at the bus stop, kind of like Freddy. That was laughing crazy like Freddy. Well, man, which nightmare do you think Freddy is scariest and curious? For me, it's the original. It's part 2 for me, Brandon. Part 2, all the way, the most sinister Freddy, best, scariest, most realistic, I think, just the way that they did everything. Makeup, part 2. Scariest, those eyes. Very, very freaky. Crazy theory for Scream 6, bit of a stretch, but I'll bring it up next time. Yes, come with your Scream 6 theories because next week we are going to discuss Scream 6 theories. So, noodle on it. If you come with spoilers, because apparently there's spoilers out there, I will kind of murder you. Can't lie. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming by. Love to see the part 2 love. And yeah, think about your Scream 6 theories. Until then, watch good horror movies and stay spooky, my friends. Later.